Hi, Nalibalians. My name is Atevo Simatyalana. I am the digital specialist at Nalibali. And I would like to welcome you to our Read Aloud Month and post World Read Aloud Day journey that we're going to be embarking on with the Nalibalis who made the pledge, and they asked us to send tips and content to them throughout the year. So today I am joined by Nalibali's programs manager, Prudence Arens. Prudence is a seasoned professional with 13 years experience in the nonprofit sector, specialized in program design, implementation, and management. She has been with the Nalibali team since the beginning of the year. You can say hi, Prudence.
Good day, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm looking forward to this session, Ate. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Prudence. And also joining us today is Nalibali's reading club amplifier for Limpopo, Tato Mateja. Tato, do you want to say hi to our audience?
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. I am looking forward to this webinar as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Tato. And also joining us, we have Sitembi Sontapo, who is the Gauteng Provincial Coordinator for Nalibali. He's been with Nalibali for close to 13 years now. He's responsible for partnerships, trainings, and awareness campaigns and special projects in the Gauteng province. Steph, you can say hi to our audience.
Thank you very much, Ati, and good day to everyone who's joining us today.
All right, thank you so much, team. I'm just going to kick off this chat by just roping you in, Khanchi, Tato. I just want to know, since Nalibali managed to reach 3.6 million children this year for Read Aloud Month, we had families, we had schools, we had preschools, we had reading clubs from all over the country reading our story. What is that to children in their lives? And Limpopo ran a very successful campaign. And I just want to know, what were the key highlights and successes of your province's World Read Aloud Day celebrations and just the overall Read Aloud Month celebrations?
Thank you so much for that question. Just to start here, a couple of the highlights. I think for us as Limpopo, we ran quite a tight and successful campaign, as you said. I think how we're able to engage the many beneficiaries within our communities was something that was quite central towards our strategy, where, as much as we wanted to partner up with the DBE and affect those, we also wanted to see families as well being involved in the day. We wanted to see ECDs get involved in the day. So I think building up to that day, our strategy is to go into the community, get as many pledges as possible, helped quite a bit in, the success of the events in Limpopo. But I think another highlight for us is the partnership that we had with SCTESH that brought, the story to life during our provincial event that happened at Kulani Primary School. Just to see how, children were able to experience how, the different ways that stories can come to life and how they can also play a part and enjoy these stories in that way. So that's something that was quite a highlight for us. But I think the second part of your question, you speak towards the successes. What we would say here is that, just also going back to the National Reading Barometer findings last year, particularly pointing towards, Tonga-speaking regions and Venda-speaking regions, those were kind of left out in terms of publications and support. So that's something that we wanted to focus on, taking the event closer to areas where we haven't necessarily had that much of an impact in. So I think for us, just stemming from the World Read Aloud Day event itself, we saw is that there was a great galvanization of different stakeholders who saw the importance of what it is that we are doing and generally just wanted, to spread throughout the district specific to Limpopo. And so I think, towards that strategy that we had put in place for this year, I think we are seeing those starting to come out.
Wow, that's very encouraging to hear. Thank you so much for sharing that. We've got people that are joining us on different social media platforms. We've got Ndicheni. Chikosi says, I'm also listening in. I love that there are still initiatives to cultivate reading and motivate young children to read. I support this. Thank you so much for your support. Good afternoon, Yvonne. And good afternoon, Bongingosi Mkize. Prudence, just coming to you. This was your first Read Aloud Month as part of the Nalibali team. I just want you to share your experience and why you think communities should be part of our Read Aloud Month celebrations.
Thank you so much, Ati. I think for me, I have a very strong passion for literacy. I'm very passionate about children and being able to enable them, especially within their literacy journey. So seeing the excitement, experiencing the impact of World Read Aloud Day, and extending it to World Read Aloud Month has been a really beautiful and exciting journey for me. It has inspired me to continue the work that we're doing within the literacy field and really to be able to identify what more can be done, to advance literacy for the young children that we get to impact. I think what the purpose behind World Read Aloud Day and it expanding into World Read Aloud Month, that has really made a big difference in the lives of the young kids. Being able to see also that the stories written and read within their mother tongue, so they could connect and fully understand. And I think behind what we're trying to do as Nalibali in advancing, the usage of our mother tongues for our children, and that being the first language that they get to interact with and really learn from, has also been beautiful. And I think commissioning, even being able to commission a local story teller and writer and author to be able to share the story with us has been what also stood out for me. I think it's built in me a sense of passion and real excitement to continue within the work that we do. And I wish that we could continuously do this, have exciting events and have exciting experiences for the children that we interact with more regularly. The purpose behind, or the reason why I think communities should be part of World Read Aloud Month and activations as what we do, is because that's the first point of contact for children. The children come from the communities before they come into the schools. And in order for us to really cultivate and motivate our children and build, a culture of reading, it starts within the community. And for me, I believe that with communities participating in our campaigns, such as World Read Aloud Month, it allows them to foster a love for reading. It builds literacy skills for not just the children, but the community members that are engaging in these exciting campaigns. And it also brings people together, and with them coming together, they're able to share their learnings, they're able to share their experiences. And in addition to that, it also raises awareness within the community about the importance of not just education, but early childhood education. And it also, enables us to help bridge the gap in access to books, access to educational resources, and ultimately empowering individuals and strengthening our community. So I think that there's a lot of benefit in our communities really forming part of such events and really contributing to the type of initiatives that we run as an organization, specifically World Read Aloud Month.
Thank you so much for that, Prudence. You attended quite a few Read Aloud events. How many did you attend?
Ooh,
And where?
I attended quite a few. I had the opportunity to actually start in Gauteng, which is my home,
Yeah.
and I joined an activation that was led by our provincial coordinator in Gauteng, Stay, and it was really exciting being able to interact with the community and getting them to pledge and speaking about the importance, of them reading to their children and participating within the event. I also got the opportunity to visit the Eastern Cape. I was in Ngobo, and really amazing event, being able to see so many of our stakeholders coming together. And I'm just, building off of the march that started and community members seeing the children on the streets with the placards and asking, what is this about? And after finding out what it's about, actually joining in, and attending the event. So it's really beautiful to see how much communities are able, that once they know that they are able to support and that they do come out in numbers. And I also had the opportunity to visit the Northwest. I got an
Yes,
opportunity
yes.
to attend another World Read Aloud Month event in Ikageng. Very exciting to have seen the children interact with the story, and even just seeing them engage with the way we run our events and our programs was really beautiful. Yeah, thanks, Ati.
All right, cool. Thanks for that. Yeah, I just want to say hi to Serame. We see you on LinkedIn. We see you, Motsele. In Essentia, if you guys have any questions or you want to join the conversation, feel free to do so. We will respond to you. Ste, I want to bring you in this conversation as the Gauteng provincial lead. Can you share some of the challenges that you encountered when you were putting together this month's Read Aloud events, and some of the lessons that you managed to take away from the challenges that you faced?
Thank you very much, Ati. Yeah, hey, unfortunately, in terms of our plans this year, there was some partnership that has hoped to have a bigger event, and that could not happen with some stakeholders that who would have wanted to participate and to make an event bigger, rather than like being at this one small space or in a school or in a ward, but in a bigger space and pulling it numbers. So unfortunately, that had its challenges. So I think that was the biggest setback. I think if you check on our the first place that we have identified for our well-renowned event, that was the initial plans that we had with other stakeholders. But I think due to other challenges that they face on their side, it had implication in terms of that, and we had to change plans, and that was going to be a significant event in terms of numbers, but also in terms of the magnitude, and bringing children from different districts coming together, because normally in many cases we'll bring children from one particular school or a section, and that is it. But in this case, I mean, we're looking at bringing children from 2 to 3 areas, and that would have been great just to bring a diverse of children into the space. And that, when it collapsed, it was really disappointing in terms of doing that. But I think also the biggest also challenge is also us not being able to, to reach every corner of the province, because also the human capital, as much as we do a lot, make a lot of noise, we sometimes do feel that we would love to do as many activation as possible, going to as many district, I mean, in this four district that we have in the province, then we can be able to have significant activations, and not only probably one, but probably more of that in different areas. But I think also time also has its role in terms of how we want to plan this thing, because not only do we want to do these activities I mean, we want to plan to have more activations in different areas. And I mean, for instance, I'll look at Tshwane, for instance. I think Tshwane is very huge. I would love to do as many areas as possible in different areas. I mean, you look, there's Hammanskraal is on the other side, Soshanguve is on the other side, so it's like a journey from each side. So it's not like I can go and come out, but it means interesting. So I feel like that had a significant, but also the human capital in our in our for us, because we don't have much of human capital on the ground as much as SEF is there. But SEF it's working on specific dates, but with, like previously we used to have LMs which will work Monday to Friday. That means that their focus probably for the month in Jan, it will just be a flow of them being in all the areas to make much noise. So I do feel like we could reach more numbers should we had a bit of more or of that in spaces. But it's something that we will take as a learning going forward in terms of that, to say probably next year we can try and see how we can go into that. So I think those are just smaller challenges that we have encountered going forward. But despite those, we managed to triumph, and in terms of numbers, but also in terms of being visible on the ground in some instances and in some places. Sure.
All right. Thank you so much, Te. Yeah, no, there's always room for improvement and room for growth, and we're gonna go back and check where we can improve as an organization, and how we can grow and make sure that every South African child gets to have access to reading materials, but also gets to celebrate and enjoy the fun that's brought by Read Aloud Month. So I just want to come to you, Tato. Since we're speaking of joy and excitement and happiness on the ground, a lot of children showed interest in our story, and they were very excited to read it. They were very excited to do the activities, and we shared that quite a lot on our digital platforms. And also, there were quite a lot of organizations that joined us and shared and tagged us on their content. With all this excitement, I just want to find out, how do you think we can grow the love of reading that children showed during Read Aloud Month? How can we maintain that? How can we keep that going after Read, or after Read Aloud Month?
That's Thank you for the question, and that's such an interesting question that I think many of us grapple with, right? When we are there having this event with these students and they're happy and engaged in literacy activities, but then how do we carry it on? So, in my opinion, I think, the learnings that we can get from the events we'll read out there is that, kids generally just enjoy the types of fun activities that we do on that day. But that is not to say we are not engaging in these activities on a day-to-day at our reading clubs, at our ECD visits, and so forth. So what this then teaches us is that, children really like being engaged in positive experiences, especially when it comes to stories. So where I would come in here is to say, how do we then carry it on throughout the year? One, probably just understanding that, literacy or early childhood literacy is a community project, right? It isn't just a project for the schools or the ECDs themselves. So, this is where we would encourage that parents themselves, or any person who has children in their lives, should become then a positive role model towards these kids. It shouldn't be something that they only see once they enter, the gates of a school and ECD. So encourage, families themselves to take up the baton, create literacy-rich environments even within their homes, engage in some of the activities that we displayed on the events for World Read Aloud Day. I think also, we as Nalibali, we offer many free reading materials, but also we also offer, a literacy calendar for the rest of the year. And we know, with events, we're not saying it's going to require money or anything, but, be cognizant of that calendar and try as hard as you can to, get those kids, galvanize them around a certain theme, and, have those stories have a positive impact in these children's lives. So I would say, yeah, maybe that's how we could look to sustaining it. Just make sure that we follow or engage the literacy calendar for the year. That's the first. But equally, all role models within society encourage you, please become positive role models to these kids, because once they see you do it, it becomes quite easier for them to do it as well. So depending on a child's ecosystem, to, encourage them to fall in love with stories. And once that happens, they are most likely to do it themselves. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Tato. Since we're in the subject of continuing this reading culture in our communities, Prudence, I would like to pose this question to you. What resources do you think we need to increase in our communities to build this culture? Because we can't just build this culture by doing all these activities and running reading clubs. We need to have things that we are handing out to people so that they can be able to do these things on their own. So what resources do you think we need to increase access to so that we can continue building this culture of reading aloud amongst our children?
Thank you so much, Ate. I think, and I really love this question because it really highlighted for me, what we should do in order for us to, one, promote what's existing within our communities. We have a lot of functioning resources. We've got community libraries within, our direct surroundings. We have our reading clubs that are really effective. We've got our safe teams that really go into ECD centers and engage children in storytelling and different types of activities on a daily. And then we also have, even in communities that don't have libraries, we've got mobile libraries that access those areas. Within our schools, we also have reading corners that are being established. We also have libraries within the schools that are being, established as well in some of our schools. And as much as those are not resources that all of our communities have access to, some of it does exist, right? What I think we need to do is to amplify that, because communities need to know that these resources exist in order for them to actually make use of them. So I think one of the key things that we should be doing in order to create or increase access to the resources that exist is to really drive more awareness. We should be promoting access and creating visibility of our reading clubs that exist, creating visibility of our library services, and also mobile devices have become such a part of our lives. We were in a 3-day workshop this week. And even as adults, we were very active on our phones throughout the sessions. Majority of the sessions that were run using digital resources. We've got a range of digital resources that we have available as Nalibali. And it's not just us that have got these digital resources available. There are multiple other organizations and structures that make reading resources available. However, what we need to do is to amplify those existing opportunities. So I think that for us to be able to create or to increase access, creating accessibility by creating visibility will definitely go a long way.
All right. Thank you so much, Prudence. Stay, I'm going to come to you as someone who's been part of Nalibali for more than a decade now. You've experienced quite a lot of Read Aloud Day celebrations and Read Aloud Month celebrations. And we're very big at Nalibali when it comes to the before and the after, which is impact stories. So I just want to know, what changes have you noticed in communities that have hosted RAD before, and then now they hosted it again this year? Have you noticed any growth? Are there more children coming forward? Are there more parents joining in now? And also please mention some of those communities that you feel actually stand out, that you've seen a difference over the years.
Yeah, no, thank you, Ati. I think there's been a huge ownership of the campaign in terms of the event as we move. Remember, when we started very small and focusing on very few numbers. And I think as we grew over the years, we then, spoke about reaching more numbers. And I think if you have noticed, we have moved to millions now, whereas we started from thousands. And this is a significant change and drive in terms of as an organization as we push this significant day for Nalibali, because as we know that this day is a very significant in the literacy ecosystem, not only for Nalibali, as much as it's big for Nalibali, but in the literacy ecosystem, this day it's very significant. And Nalibali is the one that literally drives this day. And I think we have shaken up that aspect of this is a significant day, and it's exciting that it's the first day. I mean, it's the first big event within the literacy calendar, and therefore it sets the tone for the rest of the year. So we over the years we've seen that people who have touched in different areas, and people have literally now taken up this day very seriously. And we have seen in many cases that even in other organizations that we've worked with, they have taken it up, and some of them do remind us to say what is happening, or I mean, the next year on Red, this year on Red, and so forth. Where's the story, what's happening? So there's quite a lot of people that have taken ownership, and they are doing it on their own. They are going out there doing the activities on their own. We just supply them with stories. I can mention many people that especially in Gauteng that we work with. You look at Tshwane libraries, it's very big and going, making sure that they all their I mean their the libraries are participating, and they bring in big numbers in terms of how their staff is going out to make sure that they are participating. We have Windy Bro Theatre in Johannesburg, in the market part of the market theatre. They're doing a very important job. I can mention many organizations, and I know that there are those who also I might not be able to mention, but they are significantly doing a lot of work, and a beautiful and amazing work in their spaces. So these are some of the areas I can just mention for now, but many other organizations have taken the baton to to do it, to start and be able to say we can do this even if Nalibali is not there and making it a big event, but we can do our small event or big event in our spaces. And this is very exciting to see that people are getting involved, and it means that this is what we always wanted to see, that we don't have to be there as an organization, but people can able to start initiate and do these activities on their own. And also you can see in families now, and I think big ups to SAFE, that it has helped us a lot in terms of amplifying engagement with parents, because they've done significantly well in terms of that space. And over the years that they've been here, I think they have tapped into families in our communities, where now you see that there's a lot of families that are pledging to read aloud on the day. And that has been a footprint that has been done by ISEF. And I think as we move them into different areas and communities, and those communities that have been there before, they continue to do this, to participate on the Red. And this is something that we should be happy about, and I think we should consistently support and maintain going forward, to say and keep those parents in our in our database, and also in our system, so that we always go back and always support them, and also share with them resources that they can always participate in this in this event going forward, but also in other activities and other events. So I think if we can work hard for it, in not only in that, but it means that it shows that in other literacy day days that are very important, like now we're going to library week, we're going to other weeks, those are also significant, because they are now a build up from the Red, as we encourage people to read aloud. Therefore the library space is very important, that people now need to tap into libraries. As Prudence was talking about the resources, people need to tap into resources and use libraries. We need to promote that also. So those are very significant, because we need to make connection into that, to say these days are very important. So I think as Nalibali, as we have taken the baton to make sure that many communities get now participate into Red on their own, and as we just share the resource or the story, they then can do it on their own. So I think in Gauteng we've seen a significant jump in terms of how people have literally taken this initiative on their own and doing it in their own spaces in ECD centers that we have worked with before. There are some who have worked with them 5 years back. They are still continuing, they are still engaging, and schools that we have worked and other organizations that we have partnered with before, they're still participating, which is amazing and shows that there is a consistency, and means as we go on over the years that we have started, it means we are now seeing we're then seeing the results of our impact in terms of the communities that we have worked with, even if we're not there anymore. But there's continuation from those individuals and organizations and institutions that are there.
All right, all right. Thank you so much, Ste. Our World Read Aloud Day story author, Baeli Tsatsi, has joined us on Facebook, and she is saying, Baeli, yeah, team saying hi to you, and she's saying amplify, amplify, and amplify. Yvonne, hi to you. Chris, Rodney Msomi, we see you. Thank you for joining us, guys. I just want to come back to you, Prudence, on the issue of access to resources and materials. With World Read Aloud Day and the overall Read Aloud Month, we always try to make sure that children have access to reading materials in their language. So we always try and cater for all 12 official South African languages. And today is World Book Day, and we know that access to reading materials is still an issue in South Africa, especially in the mother tongue. So I just want to find out, how can communities collaborate with organizations, with libraries, with publishers in making sure that access to reading materials in the mother tongue increases? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ate. I think firstly, we need to start at the beginning. It starts with building a culture. I think once you've established a culture of reading, then you're able to identify where resources exist, and you're able to really do the work in being able to access those, right? I think when you think about the types of products that we offer, if you think about our supplement, our supplement is available in all of our 11 official languages, and there's also even additional existing within the supplement. There's an opportunity for you to do the cut out and keep, so it's a continuous story that can live with you for quite some time. It also teaches you how to tell a story, so there's even an opportunity for you to identify just anything around the home to be able to build a story from there, right? I think the other thing is also that there's access to our libraries within our communities. There's an opportunity for parents and families to borrow books, to go into the space and borrow books. I do think, though, that when it comes to the resources that we have existing as ourselves, as Nalibali, organizations such as Room to Read, and other organizations that do the work in terms of ensuring that availability of books and stories is amplified, and that it's available in all of our languages, and that it's accessible for people within our homes. I think once we've established the culture of reading, and we know now that these resources exist, they would reach the homes, they would reach the children, they would reach the schools that they need to reach. I think, something that really comes to mind right now is that I walked into a house. We were doing house visits with the SAFE team a few weeks ago. And when we walked into this one house, the child saw us coming on, and he saw the team approaching the house. And immediately this child ran towards the cupboard to take out their book, because they know what's about to happen, right? And as the mother was reading, we provided them with the book. to read, our very thick book that we provide our families with. And the mother told us that because this has become a culture in the household, they were able to actually go through, our book very quickly. And they've started actually going to the library. So this has become a culture within the home, where they go to the library and the child gets to select their own book that they want to read. As I also shared earlier on, that we've got access to digital stories. In each of our households, there is at least one member with a cell phone that has got access to WhatsApp. We've made the availability of stories, especially in all of our official languages, so available that you can just, just by clicking or sending a message to us, you're able to get access to a story within your mother tongue. So I think the resources are there. And we've done the work in terms of making sure that we make our stories and access to our stories so accessible to households. It really needs to become a culture within the home. It needs to become a culture within the community. It needs to become a culture within the school. We were in one of the schools as well, with our team, and it was time for storytelling. And the story that was read, the kids already knew the story. So for the teacher, it was like, okay, so what do I do now? Because the kids already know the story that I'm about, that I want to tell them. And one of our team members said, we actually have, our WhatsApp portal that you can access a story. And she played an audio story for the kids. One of our team members played the audio story for the kids. And the interaction and engagement was really just so beautiful, because again, that was within the minute that they needed a story to tell. That was within the minute that they needed to be able to access another portal or a platform to be able to have access to a story, and they were able to access it quickly. So again, I think it has to go back to creating this culture and knowing what exists and making use of what exists. Because once we make use of what exists, opportunities and information then get spread easily, and we get access to even more existing resources. I do think that there's also, an element of community that needs to come in. I think there's an opportunity for us as within the schools. Something that I also saw, which really intrigued me by what our team does, is that with the story that they're telling, they actually doing a lot of activities in addition to it. So the child doesn't really just learn through listening; they learn through doing. So with the stories that we have access to for schools and for children to be able to really maintain even the culture, or even having an interest in the books, and also really just building and creating this access to the existing resources and creating visibility, comes with actually making it fun. You want to make the child want to read. You want to make it fun for the child to want to listen. You want to make it fun for the child to want to interact with the story. So I think there's work that we need to do within our different organizations, within the different spaces that we occupy, to again create visibility of the opportunities that exist, and really to create the fun and bring the fun into it as well, so that our kids can really want to participate. You're on mute, Ate.
Okay, cool. It's back up. We've got a message from LinkedIn from Zabama Joseph. Is saying she's watching all the way from CN. I admire the hard work and dedication you all have in cultivating literacy in our communities. Such an amazing initiative. Thank you so much, Sama. And we also have a message, a question, in fact, from our communications manager, Sorry. And she just wants to find out, what role did the media play in mobilizing communities? I really like this question, because we had like a situation in Mpumalanga, where Ikwekwezi FM was broadcasting at one of the World Read Aloud Day events that we did in Brayton. And a lot of parents heard about the event or the celebrations through radio, and they just came in flying at the school, and they participated and they engaged with the children. So it did actually have an impact. But I just want to know from you guys that we're doing radio interviews in your provinces, that we're interacting with media. what impact do you think the media had in amplifying our Read Aloud Month celebrations? Tato, you can take it.
Thank you for that question. So with us in Limpopo, there were a number of interviews that we did in the build-up to World Read Aloud Day. And what we did see when we were looking at the data in terms of the pledges that were coming in from communities is that initially they were very low, right? So of course, we wouldn't say that then the uptick is then based solely on the media that we did, but of course it did have an impact where, you know, some of these shows that we went on to discuss our World Read Aloud Day and just give that clarion call to pledge happened particularly in the morning. So the morning drive where people are going to work, you know, in that week where we had those interviews on radio, we did see a substantial uptick in the number of pledges when we then had our internal meetings just to review what the data looked like. So I think it did play a critical role, an important role in galvanizing people that we wouldn't ordinarily see, because yes, we do have our activations in malls and so forth, but again, there are many more people that we aren't able to reach. So it does play a role in that way, that those that we wouldn't ordinarily see in person, we are able to reach through mediums such as, you know, radio, Instagram, and all the variety of mediums that we used, you know, to try and galvanize society to get part or get behind World Read Aloud Day. So I think it was quite helpful.
All right.
If I may.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Thank you
Yes.
so much. I think a really big part that media also played in this is that for our community members and our families that weren't able to attend, in person, our RAD events specifically, they were able to actually listen to the story being read out loud or to a recording that one of our team members did. I know in KZN, Spangisini did a recording for the radio station, then they played it on the day. Or even in the Eastern Cape as well. So with the media, we really need to give a big thank you to them, because apart from the thousands of people that attended our in-person events, we had actually more than that, 10,000 of people that were able to know about the event and listen in and really be able to participate within the event, even from the comfort of their homes. So that's another really, really big role that media played in mobilizing our communities.
Okay, cool. Before we close this conversation, I just want to open the floor to everyone. I just want to know in terms of resources. Maybe you guys could share this question. Which resources would you recommend for people that want to continue with Nalibale, that want to continue with, accessing our reading materials beyond Read Aloud Month? Which resources would you recommend, and how can people access these resources? Ste, you could take that question, and then Tatu, you could follow up. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Archie. I think our resources are very important and they play a very significant role in terms of how people now start to, to understand, especially parents to understand their role, and also organization to assist them in terms of how they can, share ideas and also stories. Look, I think we are trying at this present moment to make sure that all our key partners we share our resources with, and also so that the people within their space, their vicinities, can be able to access these our resources. So we are partnering with different organizations like libraries, so that ordinary people can go to any library in their community to access a supplement, which is very significant, because if you look at the supplement, if I can take you through the supplement, it literally is an important resource that will allow people to get in touch with us on a regular basis, but also be equipped and be informed in terms of what they can do, the stories, and how so they can engage with their children, but also to follow and get an update in terms of the activities that we do, follow up with our event and so forth. So our resources are very significant. For those we are trying, especially in Gauteng, I think as time goes by, we will inform people to say which areas, especially in local areas where people can walk into those areas, like libraries, for instance. Once those conversations are completed, we'll definitely be happy to share that you can go and get the supplements and any other material that we will have as an organization that definitely needs to reach the people. They would definitely be able, to get it. So we're trying our level best to make sure that the partners that we work with in different communities are able to have our regular material, especially supplement, which is coming on a monthly basis, that people can have access to it and they can then use it on a regular basis. So with other, I think Prudence did talk about the issues of the online resources that we have. I mean, we have a WhatsApp that is there to share stories in different languages, and I think it's very important that all official languages we have material in that, which is a big plus for us to say everyone, everywhere, anywhere you can have an access to Nalibali resource in your mother tongue and able to read to yourself, read to children, read to your child, read to other children within the community, within your space, at school, at ECD centers, in your youth centers, in all spaces. Therefore, I think we were trying our level best to make sure that people have access, but also people can also use the social medias and also our website. I think also here in Facebook, also in our Facebook pages, we try our level best that there's continuous share of the material. So I think especially in Gauteng and provinces, people will then find those in public spaces like libraries to have material, and so it can be easier for them to access that. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Stan. Tato, I know you're somebody that's very interested in digital resources that we're using. Do you want to maybe add more on, the platforms or, initiatives that you recommend for people so that they can access age-appropriate reading material for their children?
Stay and Prudence speak quite a bit about our online catalog, and it is quite extensive, right? Like that's literal gold. So I don't think anybody does it better than Nalibali in terms of digital stories. We have quite an extensive catalog. So I always try to encourage people during activations and so forth to just visit the website, right? There's much, much, much more there. Because even in these communities that we are working in, yes, we do have a supplement, which is really a valuable resource in communities where people cannot afford to buy books. So that's quite valuable. But even then, in that case, as Prudence was saying, some of these kids, go through these stories so fast that they need more material. So, I continuously talk to beneficiaries about, heading over to our website to get even more stories because we have so much. But equally, there are other organizations that also, Prudence alluded to, that are in the same space that we are in. And by all means, we can go there, and all of these organizations do have age-appropriate material, especially in digital form. But equally, there are areas out there that, are quite far from towns. Perhaps maybe they don't have, access to a supplement, or they do not even have phones. I do still think, our radio stories, are quite valuable to those people as well. So, I remember there was this granny in Turfloop. She was speaking about how her kids, so a sad story. Both their parents passed away in a car accident, and she has now these kids living with her. But they've made it an event. Every single time there was a broadcast of the Nalibali story on radio, they would all just huddle around and listen to it. So that's also something that I would encourage people to look into. Should they not have access to supplements or physical reading materials, or even digital in the form of cell phones, they could still, leverage the stories that we have on SABC. So yeah, I think we've said quite a bit about the amounts of access or materials that we have readily accessible to communities. And the one thing that I always commend us for is that it's absolutely free, as anything that is literacy driven should be. Right, it's free materials for everybody to access at their convenience. So yeah, I'd speak about the website, I'd speak about our radio stories, and yeah, other organizations in the same space. You are most likely going to find age-appropriate content there.
Cool. Thank you so much, Tato. Before we close this conversation, because we've had like quite a very long conversation, I just want Prudence to close this one for us. If you have any message that you have for parents, teachers, kiddies, or just communities, just around growing the culture of reading aloud, and why it's important for the South Africa that we want, in the future. And then we can close off our wonderful webinar.
Thank you so much, Ate. I think, when we think about how we grew up and our grandparents used to have story time, as a thing within our house, within our households, I would really encourage our families to bring that back. We've got different cultures, we've got different activities that we do within our homes, and I believe that reading should be one of them. Because when we cultivate a culture of reading within our homes, it's able to flow over into everything else that we do. And it really encourages and builds this love for reading within our children. And it also allows them to learn, education is the key to success for a lot of things, and it opens so many doors. But it starts with reading for understanding, and reading, most importantly, for enjoyment. Because once it becomes a part of what you love, then you're able to embrace it even better. So I would really encourage our homes, our parents, our caregivers, people within the communities to really encourage our children to read and create opportunities for them to read. We've got so many different activities that happen within our communities. We've got events that happen. And I think that even through different activities such as sports, such as even entertainment, that reading could become, we can actually breed, a love for reading through those different initiatives that are already existing within our communities. I think I would also encourage our communities to organize themselves, to drive book donations and have book exchanges. There's such great wealth that exists within our communities where there are people that are already reading, but they read within their corners. But if we're able to really amplify that and make sure that people are aware of those, and we do book exchange drives, we've got businesses within the communities, where we could be asking for them to donate books to the schools, donate books to our libraries. Everything doesn't have to be monetary, but the value in donating or feeding in any type of resources into reading really has much more of an impact than what we think it has. So I would really encourage our communities to also organize themselves in such a way that they support book reading, they support the donations of books within our communities, they support events and activities and activations that have to do with really cultivating a reading within our communities. So I think just as part of my parting words, I would really also encourage, the schools to also build partnerships with the communities, and also incorporate books into the existing educational initiatives. There are a lot of things that our schools are doing or are meant to do in promoting literacy outside of just learning within the classroom, and really building relationships with communities to support that. Because if we as schools, just like we invited communities to celebrate World Read Aloud Day with us, and to also support our activations and support all of our key events, if we continue to do that, involve and include communities, let it not just be a message that go out, or let it not be just an intimate small within our circle that we actually just commemorate these days and celebrate, but we involve and really build community and involve community into it. And schools invite communities to support the events, whether it's a small assembly that will be encouraging reading on that day. It starts there. So it starts with really encouraging partnerships amongst our community, amongst the people in our community, the businesses that exist, and really drive and force ourselves into building and creating this culture of reading that we want to see. Thank you.
All right, cool. Thank you so much for that, Prudence. This is where our discussion's ending today. I would like to encourage everyone to visit our Nalibali website, www.nalibali.org, or visit Nalibali on on different social media platforms. Our handle is at Nalibali SA, and then on LinkedIn, it's the Nalibali Trust. There you're going to get all the resources that Nalibali has. You can become a literacy volunteer. And also, if you want to make a contribution to the future of South Africa and increase access to reading materials, you can also donate on our website. I'd like to thank everyone that joined us for our webinar today, and I'd like to thank our panel for joining us today. Thank you so much. There's quite a few webinars that we're going to be looking forward to. We've got a webinar for libraries. We've got a webinar about Drop Everything and Read. But we will inform you about those in due time. Thank you so much to everyone that joined us today. Cheers.
Thank you.